will be valuable. I approach everything with Christian values. So my goal is not to amass wealth for the sake of amassing wealth, but in the Bible it says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Think about that. A wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Now, if you are struggling to get by, and if you don't have enough for you, it's going to be impossible for you to leave an inheritance for your children's children or even your children. And I have a famous line when I talk about protection and insurances, which we'll unpack in one of the shows, that GoFundMe is not an insurance policy. I'll say that again because I know I offended some people. Touch two people when I say this. GoFundMe is not an insurance policy. So we have a lot of conversations around, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but we have a lot of conversations about reparations and what's owed to us, et cetera, and so forth. I say this: I cannot change what happened in the past. Does it need to be addressed? That's a conversation for another day. But what I can do is make sure that when I die, not if, but when I die, there is a wealth transfer. So this is one of the things that people that have come from Africa, have come from Jamaica to the West, to the US or to the UK, they complain that they don't benefit from a wealth transfer the way that some of their counterparts do. What I would say to that is, address that as a separate point. Make sure that your children and your children's children do benefit from a wealth transfer. Make sure that you have the appropriate protection in place. Make sure you have a will. I'm going to bang on about this pretty much every show. Make sure you have a will. And I'm really speaking directly to the men that are listening, and the fathers and the uncles and just men. Like, you're not a serious person if you don't have a will. That I'll just be quite frank with you, as a father, as an uncle, or just as a responsible man, whether you have kids or not. Leaving a will is not just about the money you leave. Having a will is about making sure that other people don't have to be stressed out when you pass away. It's just leaving things in order. So, number one, make sure you have a will. B, make sure you have protection. It's just mind-boggling to me when I have a conversation with one of my clients. We've done all the budgeting. We've had the conversation about affordability for their mortgage. And then when I enter the conversation about protection, which I have to as a fiduciary responsibility that I have as an FCA registered mortgage broker, when I have the conversation with them about protection, all of a sudden, they're like, oh no. And it's mind-boggling to me because I've seen their bank statements. I've seen how much they're spending for Sky. I've seen how much they spend at Starbucks. But when it comes to protecting their family, not necessarily just protecting themselves against something that is inevitable, which is death, then all of a sudden they either don't have money or don't want to have the discussion, or they go into this thing, oh, well, insurance never pays out. And then I say, well, give me some examples in your life of you knowing someone that was the case. And they can never give that example, because usually the objection to protection is not about anything other than people don't want to spend the money. And what that then does is it leaves your offspring, your sisters, nieces, whoever, because you might not have kids, it leaves them in a situation where they have to be on social media, which is just disgusting. It's just disgusting. And I'm not trying to condemn anyone that has had to do that. I'm just saying you are now in the hearing of my voice that there's a better way. There's a better way than going on TikTok, than going on Facebook, than going on Instagram and asking total strangers in some cases to give money to bury a person. Now, the person that's left behind, they're the ones that have to deal with that, right? But you can prevent that by making sure you have the right protections in place. So again, shouting out to all the men listening, all the responsible fathers, all the responsible uncles, all the responsible men that have that stuff in order, because it's so important. And this is how, as I said, we make sure that there is a transfer of wealth when we pass. And, we should live a life where our transfer isn't just about stuff and money. We should leave a spiritual inheritance as well. That is probably the most important thing. This is why I speak about my grandfather so frequently, because my grandparents, my grandfather in particular, he left a legacy of excellence. He left a legacy of integrity, a legacy of character. And my grandparents left, a financial leg up for me, for my brothers, my sisters, my uncle, and that's our responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility but ours to make sure that when we pass, that we have something in place to make sure that the future generations are better off. So we're going to just listen to a question that Juanita was asked about the red flags when buying a home, and then I'm going to come back and just do some talking through some of the stuff she said, and then we'll be at the top of the hour, and then that will be my 2 hours for this Wednesday, but I'll be right back with you tomorrow.